Hope you all are having a lovely day today. Today, Zach and I are here, and we are going to talk about 5 overrated basketball teams. This is going to be a segment that we call Fives, where we discuss 5 of each category. So, comment below, drop a comment about what we got right, what we got wrong, and what 5 teams or players or coaches or environments you want to see featured next on the list. So this is as of right now. And the first team that is overrated, as you can see on the screen, we think that Michigan State is overrated. Spartans ranked at number 18 right now in the country. Zach, can you detail why you think Michigan State is a little bit overrated?
Yeah, this isn't to say they're not a good team. I think they're definitely a good basketball team. I just think they've I don't want to say they've overperformed. But for me, it's just like I can't get past the severe awfulness from outside the arc on offense. I think they're shooting 28% as a team from three. Some teams are built enough to make up for that. Like very few teams are good enough to make up for that. Now they've done a pretty good job doing that. But in all their bye games, almost every game they play just feels like it's been close. Even like they had that close game against Bowling Green, Western Michigan kind of kept them close. Oakland, like they're pulling away in these games. But the only truly impressive game I think that comes to mind for them is when they beat the brakes off of Nebraska at home, which isn't it's not really a huge resume win or anything. They just look good. Obviously, they're able to win on the road against Ohio State. Like they definitely have the talent. I'm just not sure I can see them sustaining much of it in higher profile games against high level teams. And, come March and the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament, it's hard to win in March when you can't shoot the three effectively, at all. Like they have no game from outside the arc. And to be fair, they don't shoot a ton of threes, which at least we don't have to watch them break a bunch of threes. But yeah, it's hard to keep up with some of these, I think they're on track. I think you might agree with this, something for I don't know, 5 seed, something in that range. I'm not so sure they'll be able to keep up with some of those, mid-major teams that should be in that 12 range that love to get up and down and shoot the three and do it really well. Teams like Bradley or McNeese, kind of schools that like to run and gun a little bit. Not run and gun, but shoot the three and have more effective offenses. They are good on the defensive end, but they're not. I wouldn't say they're truly elite on the defensive end to make up for it. So I'm not saying they're not a good team. They're definitely a good team, but I'm just not sure. I don't think the ceiling is too high with them. I'm not sure I see anything more than a round of 32 exit for the Spartans.
Totally agree. Obviously, they got some cohesion. Tom Izzo, of course, the Hall of Famer, so
absolutely
he'll make stuff work. I agree with everything you said. I'm also going to question the talent here a little bit. Their best player is Jaden Akins, who, like you said, pretty much everybody on their team is abysmal from three, who shoots threes consistently. Akins is no exception to that. And yeah, they do have some scrappy defenders, like Cohen Carr is very athletic. Jeremy Fears Jr. and Jace Richardson are all athletic guards. But I also question their talent at the big spot. They play kind of a rotation of Jackson Kohler, Simone Zapala from Longwood, and
Booker gets mixed in there too.
Yeah, Xavier Booker, who just hasn't really lived up to the hype that he got.
No.
Absolutely not. He's averaging 5 points a game on not great efficiency. So, although Michigan State is winning some games, and I expect them to do well in this regular season, especially in the Big Ten that I still think is a little weak, I wouldn't be too high on their ceiling either.
Yeah, and they generally play well at home too, so they'll win a good amount of regular season games for sure.
Sure. Another team that may seem good on the surface, but we think is underrated. Another Big Ten team, the Purdue Boilermakers. Zach,
Mhm.
you brought this one up. Why do you think Purdue is overrated?
Yeah, I mean, this one's not like too world breaking that they just don't really play defense very well.
Yeah.
It's kind of their problem. They haven't looked good at all against teams with a pulse, really, except for Alabama. And I think they played arguably like a perfect game against Alabama, and Alabama played like crap. And that's what it took to win at home against them. I'm not trying to like sound like I'm faulting a win against Alabama, but they do score the ball generally pretty well. They're efficient. They don't play fast, but they're efficient. So they're not going to score a ton of points, but that doesn't mean they're not good at offense. They're very good on offense. They just don't. They take longer to shoot the ball. So their point totals may be lower, but they are efficient on offense. Not great on defense. Against like good teams, they've just had a problem in kind of a shocking way too, a little bit with physicality and rebounding, which we're kind of used to Purdue kind
Right.
of dominating in that sense. But like against A&M, a team that is kind of known for their rebounding, that's kind of all they do. They're not really good at a lot, but they had a lot of troubles with them in pretty much a home court environment in Indy. They got worked by Auburn, another team that's really athletic. Penn State is not. I mean, they were down big against Penn State, but Penn State is a team that is kind of similar to them, but like I think they're honestly more on that level, more so than the upper tier of college basketball. I'm just not very high on this team. Obviously, Braden Smith is a really good player. He's an outstanding player, but I'm just not sure there's enough around him. They shoot the three pretty well, so that's kind of their saving grace right now, and probably what will lead them to a good amount of wins. But if you get any sort of athletic team that's quick and can kind of get up and down the floor or can rebound the ball well, like at those athletic Big 12 SEC teams, they're kind of screwed. So I'm just not a fan at all of this team. I think they'll probably get a biased, 4 or 5 seed, but I don't think they're any better than like in 7 or 8 seed. So yeah.
I agree. I think you could say that about many Big Ten teams.
Yeah.
It's a well-known conference, heralded conference, so they might perform well during the regular season, but I could see them getting outmatched. And I think you hit on the word athleticism.
Yeah.
The Texas A&M game, like you pointed out, showed me all I needed to know, and that Braden Smith was great in that game. In fact, he was outstanding, like you said. He outplayed their 2 guards, Wade Taylor and Zurich Phelps.
Mm-hmm.
But they just got absolutely torched by guys like Pharrell Payne and Solomon Washington.
Yeah.
And I agree. That Alabama game was impressive, but they also played, like you said, a perfect game at home.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Purdue fans. Next up, we got the best coach in college basketball. They lost recently, the other night to Villanova. So they will go down in the standings, but they're currently sitting at number 9 as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
Zach, what kind of diminishes UConn's value for you here?
Yeah. Again, kind of similar to Purdue, but even more emphasized. They are like actually bad on defense. Like not good at all. They're kind of a mess. They just can't get stops. It feels like against teams that like Villanova is a very good offensive team with Dixon, and they got some guys that can shoot it around him. I kind of like Villanova as a whole, and we've talked about them a little bit. But like a team like Providence put up 84 on the road against them. Providence is not good. Providence is a team that put up 59 against Central Connecticut.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like obviously they're great on offense. Not having McNeely definitely hurt them last night, but they got guys that can score the ball, like Solo Ball can shoot the lights out. It's incredible. Caravan, same way, although he kind of choked at the free throw line.
He did. Yeah, he did choke.
Diarra is tough when he's getting downhill.
Yeah.
At the guard spot. Terrace Reed is good enough, big on the offensive end. So they have plenty of weapons offensively. They're really, really good. But that defense is just severely concerning, man, because they're a team that they're good on offense, but they like to play slow. A little bit like Purdue. They like to play really slow, but they're usually efficient. So they're shooting high percentages from the field, making their free throws, all that stuff. But the problem with that is if you get down big, it's kind of an issue because they can play fast, but they don't love to play fast. So I don't know. It's just I'm really concerned about this defense, and I'm not sure they're good enough to make up for it like they have been in past years. I think they're probably the most overrated team in the country right now, outside of Tennessee, which we'll get to. Like in terms of AP rankings, I'm not so sure they're even a top 25 team, to be honest with you. I don't think they're that level at all. I think they're, to me, a clear third best team in the Big East right now, and that's not saying much. I don't think they can match up with Marquette or St. John's, to be honest with you right now. I'm just not too high on them. They look, when you watch them, like a team that should be in like a 7-10 or an 8-9 game, but as we know, and to be fair, they do have some nice wins, so they'll have that benefit. But I'm not so sure they're any better than that. But they'll end up obviously getting a high seed because they're UConn, barring any sort of complete collapse.
Agreed. Obviously, they had the meltdown in Maui.
Yes.
But then, they rattle off 3 straight games, win against Baylor, win against Texas, and then win against Gonzaga, where, you start to think, okay, Hurley is back. This team is back. And that really wasn't the case, I don't feel.
No.
The defensive problems are there, and they're glaring. The problems with, they just have, although they do have weapons that are good players, they don't have, a Donovan Clingan down low. Samson Johnson is far away from Donovan Clingan. Don't have like a guy like Jordan Hawkins, who had that crazy run, Adam Sanogo, Tristan Newton.
Yeah, I think they miss Tristan Newton the most.
Yes, they do. I would agree there. And like you said, try to replace him with Aiden Mahaney. And although Mahaney has like good games where he headbutts Coach Hurley, and stuff like that, I don't buy him as the point guard.
No, and he's been better as of late, but overall, not been an impressive career so far at UConn.
No. Yeah, UConn, obviously, fans are going to show out. Hurley is going to try his best, but I think they're overrated and due for an ugly exit. We're going to talk about our favorite team, the Tennessee Volunteers. Most overrated team in the country. Let's just be real about that.
By a wide margin.
By a wide margin. Zach, talk about how you kind of figured out that this Tennessee team wasn't all that they were stacked up to be, and maybe talk a little bit about that loss to Florida and what it showed.
Yeah, I didn't really like this team preseason. I didn't like them throughout when they rose to number 1 for no reason whatsoever. And it was a joke that Tennessee was number 1 in the AP poll. Like, I mean, just watch the games. Like, it's so stupid that it's just everybody says they're undefeated. Then why wasn't Oklahoma number 2 last week?
Absolutely.
Like, you know what I mean? So, I'd argue that Oklahoma had just as good wins as Tennessee did.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, it's a complete joke. They're a good basketball team. I'm not so sure they're much like. I think I'd rank them somewhere between 10 and 15 at highest.
Yes.
Look, obviously they're very good on defense, elite on defense, one of the best defensive teams in the country. But that
Mhm.
offense, it gets stagnant. It really does. And
Yes.
look, right now, if you look, in metrics, they might be a little skewed still because yes, they were good against some team like putting up 96 on Syracuse. Like if you watch basketball, you know how bad Syracuse is,
Yes.
especially
Absolutely.
like on the defensive end. They're a mess. But like games like that will kind of skew your metrics in that way. In those games, their offense was really created off of turnovers. And when like against Florida, a team that doesn't really turn the ball over that much and has a very good offense, it was abysmal. They had zero offensive flow. They were lucky to get the 40 points in the game. Um, they didn't look like they belonged on the same court, to be honest with you.
No.
With the team that so I know some people were calling overrated in Florida. I do not agree with that. I think they're
Mhm.
very good, but yeah, I've said it all along. This is look. They'll probably win a lot of games and end up being like a 1 or 2 seed. This is the most obvious round of 32 upset to pick against in terms of a 1 or 2 seed going down. Like if they see a team that has any sort of control on offense, doesn't turn the ball over, as good guards like Florida, as Walter
Yeah.
Clayton, Elijah Martin, guys like that, that can protect the basketball so they don't turn the ball over a lot. They're in trouble because they just cannot create any flow against
No.
any good defense. It's just a complete mess. Look, I watch UC, and the Bearcats are not exactly flying high on the offensive end right now,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I'd argue Tennessee looks just as bad. That's what it feels like when I watch Tennessee, and it's why like they played a close game throughout with Middle Tennessee like a couple weeks ago. Like that,
Yeah.
Middle Tennessee had a second half lead because when they're not creating turnovers, they can't flow on offense. It's just they don't have enough guys to overcome it. They don't shoot well at all from outside the arc. Like they're not Michigan State levels of bad, but they're not good by any means.
Yeah.
In like for a 1-2 seed standards, they're bad. Yeah, I'm very far out on this Tennessee team. They'll be fine in the regular season. Say goodbye to once you face any sort of high powered offense with a soul on defense. It's over.
Yeah. 100%. You echoed my thoughts. I think that you were right from the start, fading this Tennessee team. Yeah, if you get anything from this video, fade Tennessee. Look, if there are any Tennessee fans watching, we don't dislike you
No.
guys. We don't dislike your fan base. We have a lot of respect for you, but just kind of calling it how it is on the basketball court. This team just is not as good as the media hypes it up to be.
Yeah.
You got people saying, "Oh, they're for sure Final Four contenders." And my question is that what Tennessee did last year was interesting because when I watched Tennessee, I saw when they needed a basket, they would just ISO Dalton Connect and let him go to work.
Yeah.
Is the plan this year to ISO Chaz Lanier and let him go to work whenever they
It,
need a bucket in SEC play? If it
um,
is, then, I mean, good luck because Chaz Lanier is not the same player as Dalton Connect is. He's not as good as Dalton Connect. Good player, can shoot the ball decently well, but he's not.
well, I think in terms of like, I don't know if he can create at the level that, well, I know he can't create at the level that Dalton Connect could.
Right.
I think they're relying on Zakai Ziegler to kind of
Yeah,
create for him.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, outside of those two, like they have some nice pieces on like outside of that, maybe on the offensive end, but nothing that can really like makes them a difference maker or anything like that.
Yeah. And Yeah, last thing I kind of have to say about Tennessee is just that Zakai is an interesting player to me. I've loved him throughout his college basketball career. Love his story. Seems like a great dude, but he is just an inefficient basketball player.
Yeah.
And while he's a dog on defense, and all of Tennessee's guys play really hard defense, I mean, he can't get away with shooting like 1 for 13 from the field every single game and
Right.
turning the ball over a bunch. Like that's what he does right
Yeah.
now.
I mean, in KenPom, he has the lowest offensive rating of any of their starting five.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And while some sites have him as a very valuable, like one of the most valuable players to Tennessee, unfortunately, I just don't buy it. And I don't buy Tennessee. And obviously, Rick Barnes is a regular season warrior that
Mm-hmm.
historically hasn't gotten it done in March. So, Tennessee, I'm sorry, but you are overrated. Final team that is overrated is the Gonzaga Bulldogs. This is a team that I had high hopes for coming into the year. Zach, why do you think Gonzaga is overrated?
Yeah. To be honest with you, I mean, they just, again, they haven't really done anything against teams of note.
Yeah.
They just haven't been impressive watching them. The only game I was truly impressed outside of that Baylor game to open the year where they, took them to the shed, but
Yeah.
I kind of disregard that. It happened
Right.
literally the opening day of college basketball. Baylor has severely improved since then.
Yeah.
But they had a nice road game against San Diego State. It's always a tough place to play where they were able to kind of control the game against a defense of that caliber. But
Yeah.
I mean, outside of that, I'm not impressed by anything that they can't close games. This isn't that they're not good, but I just don't understand why they're ranked right now. They haven't really done anything.
No.
Um, and some of these early WCC games have been like weirdly close against not good teams. Like last night, for example, I know it wasn't ever really in question, but San Diego's bad. San Diego's like the worst team, and they are the worst team in the WCC probably. Like maybe Portland's worse. But what did Gonzaga win by 11, 13, something like that at home?
Something like that.
Like that's not the Gonzaga we're kind of used to seeing. Pepperdine for their conference opener a week or two ago was a little bit of a mess on the road. Like these are sub 200 schools in any metric. I mean, these are not good teams by any stretch of the imagination. Yes, they're good overall on offense. They're a little bit down shooting the three. They're still fine, but they're only shooting, I think, like 34, 35%, which isn't great. I'm still just waiting. I don't think they've taken that step yet. It's better, but on the defensive end, I think we've been waiting for kind of years for them to be that elite defensive team. They've shown it in spurts. I just haven't seen it enough. Letting teams like Pepperdine and San Diego put up 80 points, and I get it. Gonzaga plays a faster, very fast style, so there's going to be more points scored. But those are teams that you should be able to kind of just completely control on the defensive end, and they're just not doing it. Yes, they're going to run through the WCC again. I'd expect them to maybe lose once and to either like Wazoo or St. Mary's, something like that. But once or twice. But I don't know. They'll be. They're just interesting to me. I just think right now I don't see why they should be ranked. That being said, I do. They're a little different than the teams we talked about so far. I think they could be pretty dangerous come March, though, and maybe as a little bit underseeded than their talent. But as of now, they haven't really tapped into that potential that I think we all know they have. So I'm just kind of waiting for that, and I think right now they're kind of just their rankings are sort of based on that talent, but it's really just not shown yet.
Right. I mean, they're ninth in Ken Palm right now.
Yeah.
And I just don't see that. Obviously, it's a team with a lot of talent, a team that's very hyped up, a team with some good players. Nemhard, EK, Kalis
That's good.
Battle, all solid guys that you'd like to have on a team. I'm just a little concerned just because they're not going to be getting much better running through competition in the WCC, like you said. A lot of those games are going to be against far inferior opponents. And I feel as if they didn't really show much in the non-conference to make me much of a believer in March. And Gonzaga, the good Gonzaga teams in the past, maybe you can find a couple of outliers, but a lot of them have had like Wooden Award caliber guys. Like I'm thinking of Drew Timmy, of course, was a dog. Thinking of Hachimura, who was an NBA pick. Thinking of Jalen Suggs, who was an NBA pick. Thinking of like Corey Kispert, NBA pick. But I just don't see that on this team. So I think Gonzaga is a little overrated, should not be number 9 in Ken Palm.
Yeah.